Swan, the Swan.
We've nailed one.
Got the Swan on the bank.
Oh yes.
What we doing, brother? What we up?
So we're at the Oaks Lakes in Sessay. Oh, look at him.
Lovely.
We're on the new lakes, we're actually on Sycamore Peg 25. Very consistent area of late, and we thought we'd do a bit of autumn carp fishing. I've got a load of maggots on my side tray, some carp, and you've brought me the new A-class 13-metre pole to have a play with. I'm quite excited, and to be honest, I'm very impressed so far. Slipping back. Very impressed. I'm going to have a little play with it, put it through its paces, and hopefully catch a boatload of carp while we do it. When I'm targeting carp during the autumn months, I like to keep my bait selection very simple, and that's maggots. And how I like to feed them are through these beauties, little pole pots from Guru. I've got a medium one here and a large one. I like to fish with a pole pot. Cat-Ian's great if you want to draw fish into your peg, but you do get a bit of a spread of bait, and particularly when I'm fishing on the long pole, I want to keep my bait in a nice little tight area, keep all the fish in one little spot, and hopefully get bites a little bit quicker. So the weather's still mild at the moment. It's been an extremely mild year, to be honest, so you can still get away with feeding a little bit of bait. So I've started the session on a medium pot, and that can hold, you know, a reasonable amount of maggots. And I started with that because I don't want to overdo it. If it turns out to be a difficult day, I've not overfed my peg. And then as the session's progressed, I've moved on to the large pot. And that actually feels like the right amount of bait today. There are some silvers in these lakes. Most carp lakes tend to be full of silverfish, eyed, roach, skimmers and stuff like that. So don't be scared to give them a bit of bait. Good little tip for you though, if it is a little bit difficult, get your little pot. Don't be afraid of sort of cutting your bait back, putting this sprinkler lid on and tapping maybe half your bait in at a time. That'll just create a little bit more noise, hopefully draw a few more fish into your peg and help you get a few more bites. So remember, pot size is really important. Start air on the side of caution. If there's a frost, don't be afraid to start on the pot. Just know, with the little lid on, sprinkle it a few times, make a bit more noise, and then quickly step up, take the lid off, dunk them all in at once, and then make a little bit less noise, keep the fish on the bottom. So start on there, move up to this one, and yeah, good little tip. Let's get some fishing done.
You're the pole a good test here, haven't we?
Yeah, I've got a bit of an angry one on, Brendan. He's going to visit that aerator, to be honest.
Keep him away from the aerator.
A-class power poles coming in action here.
This is where the word power comes into play. Strength and durability.
Strength and integrity.
You hit some stick, ain't you?
Oh, well, you've got to pull them back. You can't let them bully you around. Still got 015 on.
Is that what you got on 015?
Cheeky pre-tied Kaiser, lad.
Is it? You're a lazy bugger, aren't you?
Yeah. I thought, you know what? Brandon, he said, do me some prep. And I had a look. I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a pre-tied Kaiser now. Stick them in the box and you think I've done some prep, especially for the future.
I looked at your hooks, but bloody hell, Rob, they look lovely.
Yeah, you even complimented me on my time, but I couldn't bring myself to not admit it. This one's got a bit of attitude, to be honest, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm gonna break down here.
Yeah.
Break down here. Get a bit of side strain on it.
I reckon this might be a big one, you know.
It's not bad. I think it's just a very angry one. I think it's thinking he's not going to get caught. He said it's a Tuesday. Why am I being caught? Don't get fished for on a Tuesday on here.
Do you know?
Wednesdays and Sundays only. What we thought we'd do, when we get this one in, I'm going to give you another little tip. We'll get him landed. There he is. Oh, it's not even that big, is it?
It's one of them fully scaled mirrors, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not mad, is it? It's not bad, a cute one, isn't he? About £4.
Gotta be, isn't he?
So, catching these carp this time of year, they can be a bit crafty, so getting your feeding right and how you actually feed it is really important. So I thought I'll give you a little tip. I'll put some bait on the hook first of all, so then we don't.
What are you putting on the hook?
So I've got I'm putting 3 maggots on actually.
3?
Yeah, 3. So there's quite a lot of silvers in this lake, eyed and odd roach and stuff. So I'm just hooking 3 maggots on a 14's Kaizen. I just feel like it's a bit of a standout hook bait. 2, I feel like I get lost. As the temperatures start dropping, 2 can be better, but I feel like they're still having a chew and it'll help me pick it out. So, because I've got this, I'm actually on the large pot at the moment. I've got this the little lip ring plugged into it. We all know, shipping out, especially when the pole's wet, kind of get a bit jolty. Your maggots go everywhere. Yeah. So a little tip for you, get your maggots. I'm actually feeding just about a full pot, maybe just a little bit less. And then all I do is just dunk them under the surface of the water like that. So non-maggots are coming out, maybe you lose 1 or 2.
Sticks them to the lid.
It just coats them in water and sticks them to the bottom. So when you're jumping about on the way out, you don't actually lose any. So it's a good little tip for you. To be fair though, it's got a lovely finish on this pole, so it's dead easy.
Sliding through your hands, lovely, isn't it? How are you going to put these maggots
So, this is another good tip. So, at the start of your session, you want to make some noise to try and draw some fish into your peg. So, I'd probably tap them in from like this kind of height, so they make more noise. You could even spread them over a little area, just sort of make a bit of an area of attraction. As the session progresses, the chances are, especially now when they're having a little chew, they still want to come off the bottom if they hear sort of noise. So I'll be more inclined to sort of lower my pot to the water. Maybe I've missed a few bites or foul hooked a couple. Get it nice and low, twist it down, and just tap it out so it makes virtually no noise. And then just get me rig.
Straighten it out.
Straight in. And what happened was we were doing a bit of filming, weren't we?
Yeah.
And it went a bit quiet, so I decided to tap my bait from a height, and it drew a carp in, and that's the one I just caught. So it's important to change it about throughout the day. There's one just moved through.
Tried to eat your float then,
It tried to eat me float. They're very hungry in here. It's important to change it about through the day, so don't get too regimented with it. If it slows down. Oh, now. Oh, this one looks angry, I think.
I've got a feeling.
I've got a feeling. Oh, now that's just perfect. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But what would you change now then? So you
Yeah,
found one then. So what would you change now?
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change my pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change to a medium pot and just see if that makes a difference. There might just be a little bit too much bait on the bottom.
Yeah.
So this time of year, too much bait in the peg can cause you to foul hook them and get liners and stuff.
Got to be careful.
So that was another thing I was going to mention really. Changing your pot, like we sort of spoke about earlier. Oh, what am I doing?
You've got to change it
I'm
first.
getting distracted. I don't know where it is. Oh, I know where it is, down here.
It's on this kit.
It's on this kit. Put that down there. Pop him on. So changing your pot's important. So starting, like I said, starting the session on the smaller one, then move to the large one. But then don't be scared if you feel like there's too much bait in your peg. Just drop down pot sizes again and just cut that bait back.
Has that got the same lid on it as it?
Got the exact same little lid on it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget to give it a dunk.
Give it a dunk.
Give it a donk.
How are you gonna drop these maggots in now then?
Well, I'm definitely going to drop them very low to the water. Yeah. Because that one's obviously came in, heard the maggots even. So I'm just going to lower my bait, put it right to the water like that. Lovely. So literally no drop at all. Hold my float up, just let that rig straighten out.
I tell you what, if this goes under, it's a carp in the mouth, you're going to look like a genius.
Come on.
Oh my word, Rob.
There you go, see? Changing that pot.
Everyone listen to Rob, he's a genius.
They've looked after me.
It just shows, isn't it?
But it does show, changing to that medium pot, tapping your bait in a little bit low to the water so it makes less noise. Can make a massive, massive difference to what you're catching.
The fish is in the mouth, Rob.
I hope it is.
I'll lose my mind.
I think it's in the mouth.
That's it. When you stuck into it, I thought that's got to be in the mouth.
Okay. Oh, that's not bad as well. Oh, come on.
Woohoo! Get going,
Look at the size of him. I bet he's bigger than you think. I bet he's nearly 5 pound in. They proper weigh here, don't they? Full of pellets and meat. A meat, look at that, in the mouth.
Yeah.
A meat
You've seen it.
filled diet. Look at him.
Awesome.
Little stunner. A little edge for you when you're fishing maggots, or to be honest, most baits during the winter months, is going past your feed, out your peg slightly as the day progresses. Sometimes the fish will back off, especially in winter, sometimes you get a bit wary of your pole tip, the water's a bit clearer. So I like to have a little cheeky extension in my armoury. And these A-class poles, Brandon has informed me, come with an 11.5 metre section, little dolly butt, which you can plug into your 11 metre section to bring you to exactly 11.5. And also, this little 13 metre extension, which brings you to a true 13 metre. That goes in the back there to give you a little extra metre. It's important to have a little plumb up at the start of the match. Make sure it plumbs up the same. Most commercials are flat, old, silty lakes, so they're pretty flat, so you can just add your section, as long as you're pretty sure it doesn't drop off into a big dip. Add your section, and then, quite often, then bigger fish. And, it works on when you're catching silvers throughout the winter months as well. Adding a bit more distance than big skimmers and they do sit off the back of your bait. So, good little tip for you. Get a bit more distance, push out your peg, and hopefully that'll help you catch a few more of them wary, bigger specimens.
Oh, Rob.
Oh, yes. They've rocked up short, haven't they?
They have rocked up short, you're right.
What we're doing now, we're fishing about 5 metres out, and this time of year, that short line can be your most sort of effective line late on in your session. It's one I wouldn't necessarily start on, although sometimes fishing short can be a good way to get a quick start, maybe on pellets, depending on your venue. Oh, that's a nice one, isn't it? Woohoo! Is it F1? No, it's carp. No. It's a carp.
You're losing your mind.
I'm losing my mind.
Tell you what.
What do you reckon?
It's in the top lip.
Top lip, 7 out of 10.
Gotta be, 7
out of 10. So that short line is an area of my peg that I'd quite like to leave alone for the majority of the day, so I wouldn't want to drop on it before 2 hours to the end of the match. I'll prime it up throughout the session, feeding sort of, I don't know, 20, 30 maggots twice, something like that. Feed them when I'm shipping out, whenever I remember really. There's no hard and fast rules every so other minutes, but it's like if I'm shipping out, get to my distance, throw some maggots. So, should we go and see if we can nail one? It's important to prime it up. That's the number one tip for that short line. Just hooking 2 maggots this time.
2?
I'm feeling like 2 now. I've tried 3, but I just feel like they're a bit finicky today. So, and also I feel like a 16 might be better. I've actually got 14 on at the moment. But 16s, I feel like next time, something to bear in mind. Dropping your hook size now. Dunk the pot. Give it a little dunk. Keep them maggots in. Well, we're not shipping out far, but
5 metres, like you said.
5 metres, and what I've got a little bit of pole tape here, just to mark my distance, so I know exactly where I want to be. I just felt like this extra little bit here, it's just a little bit too far for me. I just wanted to be a bit further back. It plumbed up a bit nicer there really as well, and I didn't want to crack the end of the pole. So
no, you got bony elbows like me, ain't you?
Got bony elbows. I'm going to pop my maggots nice and low to the water.
Like you're doing on that long line.
Yeah, just like I was doing on the long line. I'm just going to lift my pole flat up and just drop them in nicely. But what I want to talk about is the different ways of feeding it. So during the match, usually I'll just throw my bait there because it's just quicker. I'm probably going to be doing it while I'm shipping out, and it gets bait in the general area. And I'm not really afraid of a build for bait because I know them maggots, they'll wriggle away. They're going to get eaten by some silvers. So I just want there to be a general little area, about 1 metre square, where there's going to be maggots sat there attracting fish. And later on, and you'll see, because there'll start to be little bubbles coming up, them carp are obviously there having a grub around. And sort of the last half an hour, 40 minutes, I've started to see quite a few little pimps, which has been nice. And now we're getting some steady bites on it. I've decided to go in with a pole pot this time, just to tighten my bait up. I feel like to fishing a little bit harder, so it's not been absolutely solid today. The water temperature's definitely dropped a few degrees, especially with all that rain that's gone in recently, and it's still raining. Putting a little pole pot on just tightens up your feed, hopefully help you get a bit of a quicker bite. However, something to note, if you start foul looking fish and you feel like the fish is sort of too concentrated, sometimes that one little pile of feed can mean too many fish are coming to that one little spot. Get your catty out and just fire your maggots over the top, because that can just create a bit more of a spread of bait, and I think that can help slow down the liners sometimes. There we go.
Clonk.
Clonk. When you hook one, throw a few maggots over the top, get them in that little area again waiting for when you come back. Oh, feels like a nice little carp. In the mouth, I think.
Of course it is. You don't hook them in the mouth.
Look at that.
Anywhere else, do you?
Yes. Quite impressed with this little end gauge handle.
It's worked well. It's a treat, isn't it?
Oh, it is a little treat.
Good little scoop from yourself.
It's perfect. Right in the top lip. Beautiful. Even a maggot there left on.
My word.
Pop him out.
What dreams are made of.
And yeah, so just making sure you're feeding your bait in the right way is important. Some venues where you go, cattying everything or throwing everything's the best way to do it. You just have to sort of play it by ear, know your venue, learn on the day. So, but I'll show you, there you go, 2 maggots on. And then, I'll tell you what, I'll catty my bait this time to show you what I mean. Get to my little spot.
To your tape.
And also, a little tip for you, make sure your maggots have got plenty of maize on. It just helps you keep them, be a bit more accurate with your cattying.
Yeah.
I always find when you've got wet maggots, it can be, and then just nice and gentle.
Oh, Rob.
And just get them in the right spot. I'm only going to feed one, so I don't want to overdo it. If you have too much bait in your peg, it can slow you down, and then we just wait for another bite. I have got another little tip for you.
Go on, you got loads of tips, haven't you?
Another?
Go on, I'll have another one.
There you go. Oh, just missed a bite. Certain times of year, if the water's still mild and the fish are having a bit of a chew, they can be a bit overconfident. Yeah. So I've decided today to start about 5 metres out, which I'd say is quite far out for fishing this maggot short line. But it's a great way to start, edge on the side of caution. You know fish are going to come in your peg. But if there are too many fish coming in your peg and they're way overconfident, don't be scared of coming back a section, get your plummet on, come back a section, re-plumb up. Quite often it'll be the exact same depth. So if you have a little plumb up before the start of the match, you don't even need to do that. You can just come back another section. Sort of they'll feel your presence on the bank. They'll know you're there. They'll come into the peg a little bit slower and it'll be a bit more sensible. You'll foul hook less fish. Like there's a potential in here on these lakes, when it's fishing really well, you could end up back on your top kit starting here. If you just come back as the day goes on, the fish will follow you up the slope, then maggots are going to naturally wriggle down the slope and be in that sort of general area. So, and if it's no good, just add a section and go back to where you were in the start. Good little tip that.
Full of tips, you, ain't you?
I've got my float dotted right down.
That's really dotted as well.
It is dotted, because these carp today have been like proper finicky on this short line. Little tiny bites. Even from them big 5-pounders, they'd barely even pull the float under. Rigs. I'm going to talk you through the tackle that I've used today. Autumn carp fishing, it's time to step down your gear a little bit, but not too much. So I've still got a 15s hybrid elastic, still got a bit of power behind it, but not too overgun, so I can fish lighter hook lengths if needed. Main line, so I've still used an 019 N gauge main line. I feel like that gives me this sort of ability to use up to like an 017 hook length. If I feel like, you know, the water's still coloured on this venue, for example, if I'm bagging late on, I can put a 017 hook length and still know if I get broke, my hook length's going to go and not my main line. So I always like to have a little bit of a buffer. So if I want to use a stronger hook length, I can. So that's why I've used 019 main line. Super durable, and sometimes I just use the same rigs for a couple of sessions in a row. So it gives me a bit of time back at home. Float wise, when I'm fishing with maggots, for me it's always a carbon float. These carbon bobbies are brilliant. A nice visible 1.8mm bristle, nice and buoyant, but you can still dot it down to a pimple and see it. So I like how coloured they are, look how orange that is. So nice carbon stem float, reasonable tip. As I move into winter, I'll drop down tip sizes, but it's still mild, the carp are still feeding, so a nice visible tip is really important. Carbon stems also fish great with maggots through the water. You get a lot of bites on the drop, so some days, if it's a little bit harder, if you want to lay your rig in and sort of watch your rig fall, then you'll get little dinks on the way down, so that's really important. Wire stems more for pellets for me, so carbon stem bobby. I've chose a 0.5 for this short line because it's a little bit deeper there. It's about 4.5 foot deep, so a 0.5 just allows me to add a little bit more shot down the rig, get the rig down to the killing zone a bit quicker. And then yeah, I've literally got bulker number 8 shot around 12 inches from the hook. Then I've got a little 6-inch gap, then I've got a number 10, so I feel like at the bottom end of your rig, you just want a nice small shot just to give it a little bit of finesse as it sort of drops through the water. If it was really solid, just bite it off and chuck a number 9 on and just alter my shot slightly just so get a little bit more positive bites. But when it's a bit harder, err on the side of caution, small shots towards the bottom of your rig. And then, as we've probably touched on already, a 6-inch pre-tied Kaizen 015 to a 14's Kaizen hook. So nice and easy prep-wise, no need to spend hours tying hooks because Guru have done it all for you. So much smaller hook than I usually use on this venue. Things are slowing down a little bit. You can fish 2 or 3 maggots on that hook, but going forward, as the sort of temperatures drop, don't be scared of dropping down to something like a 16's or an 18's SLWG, something that'll have a couple of maggots housed on it nice and easily and still have quite a lot of finesse. So it's a dead simple rig. If it was a bit deeper, sort of 5.5 foot-ish, I would probably use a bulk and 2 droppers. So I'll just move my bulk up a little bit higher, just have 2 droppers spaced out, just to give a bit of a slower fall. Because it's only about 4.5 foot, a single bulk is perfect for me with 1 dropper. I just feel like that gets you down to the right zone where you're going to catch the fish. Like I said, with this short line, you want to be getting your rig down. You don't want to be stringing it out or anything like that. For me, while the fishing's still good, late on in the match, that's when you're going to do your bagging. So nice bulk, get it down. The long pole rig, which I started on, is virtually exactly the same. The only difference is I've got a slightly longer line in case it's windy and getting blown about. Just allows me to keep my float a little bit stiller really. And I've got a back shot there. That allows me to keep my rig nice and still and stable where you want it really. Again, it's a carbon bobby, but this time, carbon bobby, spell me words properly. 0.4, so a little bit lighter. It's shallow water, so I don't need as much weight down the line to get the rig down to where I need it. So a little bit more finesse, a little bit less shot down the line, just helps out there. And then same again, bulk and 1 dropper, exactly the same, and exactly the same hook length and hook. So there's the rigs, dead simple.
Oh yes.
Woohoo!
That's a good word. It's like Homer Simpson there.
We've caught loads of carp. Look at that, it's a beautiful one to finish on as well.
You don't mess about, do you, netting these fish?
No.
You hooked that in literally like 5 seconds.
While the weather's still mild, get yourself out there, go and catch some carp, and hopefully you'll have a fantastic day's fishing, using a few of these little maggoty style tips that I've passed on today. We're getting a bit wet and cold. Sadly, we've got to go home, because I don't want to catch hypothermia. I'll see you on the bank soon, and make sure you subscribe to the Tackle Guru TV YouTube channel.